All right, thank you very much indeed for staying with us. You're still on to News Hub on Silverbird Television. We're back from the news studio. We're going into our interview segment for the day. We have some interesting conversations coming up sometimes during the week in one of the editorials of the Guardian newspaper. The immediate past editor-in-chief of that paper, Mr. Martins Onoja, came up with some very interesting perspectives on the kinds of tactical errors. He referred to them as tactical errors that the president needs to fix. And they're very interesting read. And we have someone to help us, look at that publication. Of course, sometime in the course of the week, or the next couple of weeks or so, we'll try to bring Martin Onoja here himself to help us understand what exactly is going through his mind, for that publication.
Yeah, David. It is important that we do that. But for analysis purposes, we have Babatunde Erinjogunola, who is a policy finance consultant. He joins us right about now via Zoom. So good to have you on the show, Erinjogunola. Babatunde, yes. Good morning. So good to have you on the show. Okay, I really can't hear you at the moment. It's important, you need to unmute your device so we can hear you and begin the conversation in earnest. It's very important that we have this conversation. If you can hear me now. Hello, good morning, Babatunde. All right, while we wait to reconnect. Yeah. Oh, wait to reconnect. I mean, we also had the luxury of going through that report.
What I find interesting, the first part where he talked about the bureaucracy within the presidency. Mm-hmm. It just took my mind back to that conversation. If you remember that statement, that famous statement. Who is the presidency? By Babachel Lawal, who was the secretary to the government at some point. Yeah. So you now have all manners of some kind of conflicting responsibilities within the presidency, and the flow, the chain is a bit more complex and confusing. Yeah. Yeah. And that in a way, according to what Martin Onoja was saying, that's some kind of distraction that will also affect the service delivery, that we get from government.
It would affect perception. It would affect, perception. I think is also very key, and signals that is coming from the presidency, very key. Looking at the report, it took a closer look at some very key concerns. It looked at the NNPC conundrum, where it did say that if the NNPC is saying that Serap is asking for suing the federal government right now because of its involvement with the NNPC. There's a PIA at the moment, so NNPC should be a limited liability company. Why do they still take instructions from the federal government? I've just been told that Babatunde has joined us right about now. So good to have you on the show again, Babatunde. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I think you can hear now. Good morning, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us. All right. Me now. Okay, yes, I think you can hear me, but we need to boost the audio a little bit more for better clarity. All right. Yes. So we are looking at this report as released by the Vanguard newspaper, and many sees it as a very strategic perspective to the whole concern around governance. I want to believe you have seen the report. I don't know what you can make. Let's even get your general perspective around the report. Oh, the Guardian newspaper rather. Yes.
Well, thank you. Since you said my general perspective, my own view is that what we call strategic error in some cases, may not be in another sense. The presidency, of course, have a better understanding of what their objectives are and how they seek to achieve that. And of course, they know what challenges they have in terms of the tools and structures available to them and how they intend to go about, working on that to achieve their objective. So the article itself is not new to me, because we've been engaging on why things work, why it doesn't work. So governments generally would always want to find a way to achieve their objective, even if there are structural or institutional challenges around carrying out their set goals.
I understand you that at the end of the day, the government in power has a duty to put up whatever structure it wants, so far as they're able to deliver on the service. But we're saying, from the article, that we're not getting the optimal, value that we should get from the services we expect, from those in government and those in authority, and that's actually the argument. So, is it then going to be, some conflict or some balancing between the constitutional provisions in terms of how things should work and the initiatives that are being introduced into the structure by those in power?
Well, thank you. What you have, the question you just raised now is what is really important to us as, citizens. Whatever policy government adopt or approach they adopt to deliver those promises they make to us, are they really getting that result for us? That is the question. For now, we all know that our economy is challenged, and we have a lot of fallout from the policy options of the government, which appear to be throwing up a lot of things, which informed the article we are talking about. So government needs to pay attention to the outcome of their policy right from the onset, because if you wait for all the intended consequences without stress testing your policy options, these are the kind of situation you find yourself. The pressure from the receiving public will be so much that it could distort the original purpose and objective of your policy or strategy you are adopting to achieve it. So government needs to actually recalibrate, rethink, and say to themselves, these are options. What is the problem with this? Is it the policy itself, or is it the delivery mode, or are there things we need to reform and work around? For me, those are the important things we need to help government to do at this stage.
There is the article did throw out a concern which borders on who exactly is in charge. Is Bola Ahmed Tinubu in charge, or is manager? He has managers that are indeed in charge. It made reference to the SGF taking some very serious decisions would have been coming from the presidency. So that for me is another concern. So which also borders on how the government is being perceived. I don't know what your thoughts are around that.
If you are, for me, around that, I think the president is even too. How can I put it? It's a super character around his government. That's the way I see it. I hardly see any minister or any head of agency that is strong and is able to come out and say, yeah, I'm owning my own. Everybody appears to just be, walking in the shadow of Mr. President. So Mr. President, quite frankly, is in charge, and he has to take responsibility for the outcome, be it positive or negative. Except for some few ministers or ministries, Ministry of Interior, which you can see clearly that they're trying to do what they need to do, and they focus on what is important to Nigerians compared to the previous administration when we had Mr. Aregbesola there. We can see the difference from what Tunji Ojo is doing and what Aregbesola did. So if we move forward to which other ministry, I think I listened to Ministry of with the culture or tourism, I could see that the minister is just pretty much in a formative stage. She's still not there in terms of readiness to deliver. So she's still having consultation and all that. And we're already 1 year into it. And we can match that to our experience as well. Those are areas Mr. President needs to check and see that does he need where there will be, guiding some people to match up to the responsibility of the office, or they need people that can come in and actually do the job and move, help the president to achieve his objective. So those are critical areas the government will have to look into. And the president, in my view, needs to, interestingly, we hear that there is likely to be some cabinet adjustment. Maybe we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. Maybe things are already being seen in the light of the article, and the president is trying to do something about that. So no doubt about that the article speaks to the structure of government and how government works. If you remember in the article, the writer made point about how President Obasanjo appointed his own chief of staff, and Yaradua did not, and Jonathan came back and brought the chief of staff's office, and now how chief of staff office is now impacting on the office of the secretary to the government of the federation. These are areas where support staff must be differentiated from the constitutionally recognized offices, and that must help the civil service to optimize its performance rather than lowering its performance. So those are things government will have to look at, balancing their personal, or what I call personal goal with the common interest.
Thank you very much indeed. Since you were talking about areas that the president needs to pay attention to, I also think that I would like you to bear your minds on what I consider a gap between reality and feedback. Because it doesn't seem like the president is able to get the accurate report in terms of the reality on ground. Isn't that also part of the problem with the structure around the president, to be able to get feedback, accurate feedback that reflects the true situation on ground, rather than just some political people looking for relevance and just making the president feel that everything is fine?
We always assume that the president doesn't know what is going on in the country. I think that's almost common to all of us. We believe government, the president is just aloof there. For me, I don't have any facts to support that. I believe that Mr. President is being fed. He knows what is going on himself. I'm from Lagos State, they call him, so he reaches out. He has his guys in all areas of the community. If I'm to use my understanding of how he governed in Lagos to the federal level, so it's someone that gathers intelligence and knows how to use it. To the extent that he is using those intelligence, it's a separate thing. Maybe his objective is actually to get things where it is, and he's hoping that when he gets to here, he will move it to another level. Well, that's we are waiting to see. But what is clear, which we must tell the president or whoever is who has his heirs, is that in the town today, things are not easy for an average Nigerian. I listened to conversation from Abuja to Suleja to Lagos. The truth is that even people that are regarded as middle class are actually struggling in that space now. They are really, really struggling. People are struggling to pay to keep their staff on the job, to move about, to feed. So whoever handling government machinery and letting the president know what is going on, if they have the benefit of listening to programs like this and any other one, they need to let Mr. President know that the outcome of the policy is becoming too difficult for Nigerians, and they need to do something about that. And that is a message we must continue to get across to Mr. President. and his handlers. Things are difficult. Whatever they need to do to lighten that burden on the people, I think they should just they should start doing that now. We are outside. We believe that Mr. President, by the vote we gave to him and his team, is that they have all resources at their disposal to serve us. But we are saying what we are getting out of their service, solution, it's difficult for our people, and government must quickly attend to this, because it's just very important. Government must attend to this. How they do that? Well, they can consult us if they want to hear more about that. If they already have the answer, we are waiting for the outcome.
Since you did say that Mr. President has his eyes everywhere, is it okay to say that Mr. President is the presidency is directly involved in the back and forth between the NNPC and Dangote? Is it okay to say that the lack of transparency that Dangote has, NNPC has showed in the last few days, the presidency is also involved? Is it okay to say that the increase in the pump price of fuel that we are experiencing right now, that Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very, very aware, even though the Minister for State had come to say that government is not aware of the increase? But you are saying that Mr. President has his eyes everywhere. So it's fine to say that Mr. President is aware of what Nigerians are going through, and the lack of transparency and the back and forth. Let me ask you, Mr. Babatunde, we've not heard much about the $1.5 billion that was marked for the Port Harcourt refineries. We've seen that activation moved 5 times in recent times. Are you saying Mr. President is also aware? Then it's important that it's an error that it needs to fix as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Mr. President himself will never say to you that he's not aware of what is going on in the country. That means it's not. That means that will be self-indicting. So he knows everything, to the best of my ability. If he doesn't know it, then he wouldn't be qualified to be in that office anymore. So number one, on the refinery issues, the 1.5 billion, he has his history behind that. And to the extent that Mr. President is still being able to cope with NNPC and the Dangote fallout, I don't think any other person has that responsibility or the power to set things straight other than Mr. President. I mean, that I'm not in doubt. Whatever Mr. President is considering, because he might have intelligence information around, him, for him around the subject, we may give him the benefit of the doubt. But to the best of my own understanding, Mr. President understands what's going on. He knows it. I think he's just doing it based on what his goal, his objective is on that sector. But the truth of the matter is what we are getting as outcome is suboptimal, and we need to fix that, and quite frankly. Number two is that on the 1.5 billion turnaround maintenance, it's almost turning to turn aground maintenance that we are seeing over the years now. $1.5 billion. If you take that to how much cost Dangote used to build the refinery that can deliver more than the combined capacity of the 4 refineries we have in this country that are not serving us, you can tell that's something the president would have to look into. Again, there is something about economic nationalism. We must protect our own. I just read recently that Singapore, South Korea is been approved to come and build 4 refineries. Just less than a year that Dangote and other private refiners are coming into the market. I think that is sending wrong signal to the market about how committed we are to supporting real growth that we can own as our own as Nigerians. So government needs to look. I don't know. I hope the South Korean people are not just dismantling their refineries resources that will come to waste because we are not importing from them anymore, and come and dump it again on us in Nigeria. So the Ministry of Petroleum and the regulator must look into this. We are not just to be a dumping ground, and we shouldn't be working against our national interest in the name of creating competition for some monopoly that we cannot justify. There is, Mr. Dangote and his refinery should be allowed to thrive first. Then we can now, there's what they call pioneer status. These people coming up with their ideas and resources to build refinery when 4 refineries of government are not working should be protected, and they should allow them to actually reap the fruit of their investments. So that's just looking at it from that angle. And Mr. President will certainly look at this if he's not aware, which I believe he should be. We encourage Ministry of Petroleum Resources to look into this and protect local investors, Nigerian investors, by not allowing Nigeria to be a dumping ground by South Korea that doesn't produce any good, and they just bring them to Nigeria.
All right, Bamidele. So thank you. Thank you so very much for your perspective, Babatunde Erinjogunola. Thank you so very much. We will stay on this matter, no doubt, because we have barely scratched the surface of the article. Hopefully we will get Mr. Martin Zoloja, who is a member board of editors at the Guardian newspaper, to come and bring more clarity, and let's get his line of thought and probably take a cursory look at the entire article. But you've done so well so far. Takeaways right here is the fact that you believe that Mr. President has his eyes everywhere. However, things are falling apart, so he needs to wake up and put things together again. Thank you so once again, Mr. Babatunde. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good day. All right, we'll go on a break right about now. When we come back, we have more reports for you, or rather, more discussions for you on News Up. Stay with us.